Oh, hello. Today we are here to wrap up series reading for me for the year. And we're doing something a little different that I have some ambivalence about. Sorry, I'm moving my knitting around here. I'm slowly filming my Everything I Knit this year video, but I'm doing it in chunks this time, so I'm just stuffing this away so that the cats don't accidentally ruin it and make me sad beyond words. Anyway, sorry. So I'm doing something a little different this year and I have mixed feelings about it. I think that this was definitely like a moment of growth for me on BookTube, deciding how I was going to handle end of the year this year, because I love doing these end of the year videos. I love making a lot of them, but I think I'm in a place in my reading and YouTubing journey where some of the things I was doing maybe just don't make as much sense with my current reading. And the place that I feel that the most is definitely in series, because I have a whole end of the year series tag that I normally do. I made it. I do it every year. And last year was like kind of a stretch to get it to work because I just read so much less. And when I was looking at it this year, I was like, these are not the things I want to talk about with series, and maybe it's just time to let it go for this year at least, and allow myself to decide on a year-to-year basis if it makes sense to do it. So I know many of you probably don't care about that, but that was my internal like angst about this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just kind of wrap up how series reading went for me this year, like as a whole. And then I'll tell you guys about some of the standouts or some of the items of note, I guess, in series reading for me. As a whole, I am just not reading as much in series as I used to. Some of that is because I had a very focused, concentrated effort about 3-4 years ago now, I guess 3 years ago, where I was like, my series situation is out of control. I have way too many series going. I am not getting through the things I want to read in series in a timely fashion. Like, I really want to focus on kind of reading that down on my TBR and on just sort of my general like things I'm reading. And that was really successful. I'll pop up the stats, but as of, I think I started in August 2022, it's now December 2025, and I am way closer to kind of what I thought I should be in terms of low double digits of series that are kind of in progress. Plans for almost every series that I've started of how I'm gonna get them read. Way fewer series I'm in progress on, way fewer books in series that are in flight. And then I've started a lot of the series that I wanted to start, and I just have fewer books in those unstarted series hanging around. So I just feel like overall I'm in a lot better place with series reading. So it's not been as much of a focus for me. You can see that in the number of books I've read from period to period when I was tracking that. Last year there was a big drop. I think I read like 35-ish, 36-ish books in a series that I was tracking. And this year, probably closer to 40, but still just not as many. I'm just not as focused on that as I once was. And I think that that's actually a sign of success, because that means that I've gotten through a lot of the series that I was just okay on or so-so on. I'm getting to the series that I really wanted to read. I've started new series since then that I'm really enjoying. And I think it's just in a better place, and therefore doesn't need to be as much of a focus for me. Yeah, and also, you know, insert another video here probably about just like evolving tastes, like, you know, evolving moods, evolving taste, evolving seasons of life that just mean you're reading different things. So with that in mind, I'm just going to talk through a couple of notable series things this year. New series I started, series that I like really got hooked into, series I made a lot of progress on, just to me what I thought the standouts were. Okay, let's start with the category I'm going to call series that went from like good to all-time favorites this year. So actually, you know what, let's start with the First Law series, the extended universe, because this year me and Leanna have been buddy reading this. You will also see me talking about a different series that I buddy read with her. And this is one of her, I mean, maybe is her all-time favorite series, one of her all-time favorite series. I'll defer to her on her tastes and preferences. But I really, really enjoyed the first series, or the first trilogy. I gave it 4 stars, 4 stars, and 4.5 stars. And I kind of thought as a whole, it was a 4.5 to 5 star trilogy for me. Now that I am almost done with this extended universe, I've got 2 books left to catch up. I think I can confidently move this into one of my all-time favorite series. I think I just really appreciate his writing and how his writing supports the themes he's exploring. And those themes are ones that are really interesting to me, and also, like, I just think universally relevant, probably all the time, but has felt very relevant in these times, about how violence is just sort of an uncontrollable cycle, that once you kind of get that involved, it's really hard to stop, that fate or chance are very big parts of how things play out the way they do, and that the little guy is crushed under the wheel of of fate and violence without some very intentional intervention to the contrary. So it's just, I really love his characterization. I love that this is grimdark without being cheaply grimdark. Like, I think the things that happen in this are grim and earn it in terms of the world building, the authorial attitude. This doesn't feel just like cheap gore or cheap awful things happening. Like, it just, I don't know, it's really earned. And I just have a lot of respect for this person as an author. I'm looking forward to trying other series from him in the future, and this series just absolutely really has been delivering for me this year. And you know, it's also just lovely to buddy read with a pal. The other one that I'd say, like, went to, oh wow, like, I really love this series this year for me, is not this book. It is The Potency of Ungovernable Obstacles, but I don't have that in physical form right now. So the Malka Older, it just keeps getting better and better. The characters keep getting more interesting and more layered. Their backstory is getting more interesting. And it's somehow, I was talking to somebody in the comments about this, it's both cozy and dystopian, which is such a weird combo, but she pulls it off with these Sherlockian plots, great novellas, and just really kind of went into a favorite series for me this year. Okay, the next couple of books I want to talk about are very similar in terms of, like, ooh, this is a new favorite series, but I've only read 2 books in the series, so I want to, like, reserve judgment until I read more. This one is more on the bubble. I think, like, it's not clear to me if this is going to become a favorite series or not, but it could. And that is the Anne and Den mystery series from Robert Jackson Bennett. I thought that A Drop of Corruption was even better than the first book, which was The Tainted Cup. And if it continues in this vein, I can certainly see a world where this becomes a favorite series of mine. I also hope that this is, like, I would be cool with this having shorter books in it, because both of the books so far have been pretty chunky. Like, they're definitely fantasy mysteries. Like, I would say that they're fantasy with mystery plots versus, like, mysteries in a fantasy world. They're definitely fantasy, so I get why they're, like, kind of bigger for a mystery novel, but I honestly think that these could support some short stories, some novellas. So even if this ends, I don't know how many books are planned for this, even if it only ends up being a trilogy, I would love it, depending on how that wraps up, if he would consider writing, like, mystery novellas or, like, a collection of short, like, I just think that he's so far has been a good enough whodunit writer that I'm, like, interested to see more from him focused on mystery and less fantasy. So I don't know. Anyway, that probably didn't make any sense, but I'm hoping that we get more than just a trilogy out of this, period. And I hope that the next book that comes out next year is also excellent and pushes this into, like, what, like, maybe not an all-time favorite, but definitely, like, favorite of the year or recent favorite series. I think this has a lot of promise. And then, you know, I gotta mention good old Yakido-san, because oh my gosh, I love the Labyrinth House Murders this year. I've given both of the books in this series 5-star, so it feels like I have to call this series an all-time favorite, but I've read this one and then the Decagon House Murders, so I need to read at least one or two more to make that assessment. But even as long as I don't hate the next two books that I know are out there, this is going to be a favorite series, I'm pretty sure. But, you know, it feels hasty if I've only read two to officially declare that. But Homeboy is just writing the kind of whodunit mysteries that I love. And I'm very thankful he has like a nice big backlog. And I'm hopeful that more and more of it is going to get translated into English, because I kind of feel like my limitation here is going to be push compress, cranking these bad boys out at a sufficiently fast clip for my appetite. So I need to read one more, but this I'm pretty sure is going to be an all-time favorite series. Okay, and then last category are things that I started this year that I'm excited about in series. One of these is a little bit of a cheat, but you know, what is life if not a little bit of cheating? So I started and finished the Terry Pratchett, Tiffany Aching sub-series of Discworld. I had read Good Omens by him and Hogfather. So I had experienced Discworld before, and I'd experienced his writing before, but this is the first like full sub-series of Terry Pratchett that I've read, and I've really enjoyed it. I will say, I think in general, my kind of take on Pratchett is his actual writing is just wonderful. Caveat on the last book in this series, which you'll see me talk about in my December wrap-up, but that was the last book he was writing and he didn't get to finish it, so I feel like I can't really hold that against him. But in general, his actual writing is so funny and wry and well observed, but he has this sort of like really lovely, kind of like compassionate heart or like kindness, goodness, I don't know, intrinsic to his point of view, where it is very dry humor, sometimes like kind of gallows humor, dark humor, but it has this sort of like moral clarity to it at the core in terms of like being good to each other and neighborly. I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting too much onto that because it is a YA series, so I get that sometimes, you know, you kind of amp up the lessons or the like good metaphors in YA, but from what I've experienced of him, I appreciate that his humor is biting but not mean, if that makes sense. I would say that the best of this 5 books is this one, A Hatful of Sky, which is the second one. My personal favorite is probably the third one, which was Wintersmith, because it just reminded me so much of Elizabeth Marie Pope historical fiction that had some fairy stuff in it. But yeah, this was, another buddy read with Leanna at her suggestion, and I am glad she suggested it. I will say neither of us really loved the first book and almost quit on the series. So just know that first book is a lot in terms of it's a lot of on-page dialect, a lot of the wee Freeman, let's just put it that way. So if you don't vibe with that, I would recommend, at least if you have any interest, continuing on to the second book, because I think that's more representative of the series. And I would say if you just want to, I would say you could get away in this 5 books of not reading the first or last book and just reading the middle 3. I think they're actually a pretty satisfying little arc, just those 3 books. So anyway, that was a series I started. This is my little bit of a cheat. So I have been reading In the World of the White Rat, but I hadn't read any of the Paladin books, so I'm gonna count it. I read this whole series this year. I might have read one of the books last year. I can't remember exactly, but roughly in the last 12 months, I have read this full series, and it's a really lovely kind of different take on a fantasy romance. T. Kingfisher definitely has a distinctive writing voice that doesn't work for everyone, and it also doesn't work for everyone in this subgenre, but it is older protagonists, more kind of like less angst, and more just like, God, these are people who have lived a life trying to find some cuteness in this world. And I just loved it. This is definitely my favorite one of them. And yeah, I just thought it was a lovely just a reliable, enjoyable quartet of books that I'm excited to get more of in the future. And thankfully T. Kingfisher cranks those books out, so I'm assuming I'm not going to have to wait all that long for more. Murder by Memory is a novella series that's getting started from Olivia Waite, which I absolutely loved. It is truly just like whodunit murder mystery on a spaceship in the future. Our main detective I thought was very charming. Again, kind of older characters a little bit, so a little bit more of like have lived a life kind of a thing. And I can't really tell you much about the plot because it is such a slight little novella here, but I really enjoyed this. If you like a speculative sci-fi story, this is one, as opposed to Robert Jackson Bennett's book, I would call that a fantasy with a mystery plot. This I would more call a mystery set in a speculative universe, like set in a sci-fi setting. And it's just fun, and I'm excited that there's another one. I should be getting a copy of that soon. So I'm excited to keep going in it, but this is probably my favorite series I started this year, like new series to me. Well, I say that. These last two. I don't know quite how to talk about them, but okay. So technically I guess the Louise Erdrich verse is my favorite series that I started this year because these were my two top books of the year. These were two new all-time favorites, and they're set kind of... it's like they're series, but they're very loosely series. It's like, maybe the way that Stephen King has like the Stephen King verse, Louise Erdrich has the Louise Erdrich verse. Like there are a lot of characters that are interconnected, or have Venn diagram of being connected, you know, they're not... There's not necessarily a ton of books that are super serialized. I say that. I haven't read a ton yet. Based on my research, it seems like most of these books could be read without each other. But from my research, it sounds like it does really reward reading more in the series because you pick up more connections or realize like, oh, that's so-and-so's granddad, or oh, that's so-and-so's niece, or whatever. And it doesn't necessarily like super spell that out. So in that sense, you could read these as standalones, but I'm really excited. Once I have made some more progress on my own TBR, this is, Louise Erdrich is like on my list of like hoarding her backlog, like getting all the books to read them because I just know I'm going to want to keep them. So yeah, this is a series it's kind of an unusual series maybe, and not typically what I think of when I think of series, because it is literary fiction, but it's maybe the series I'm most excited to binge. So that's pretty cool, because that's unusual for me, to have a literary fiction series that I'm so into. Okay, I think that will do it for me for series this year. And you know, it was hard for me to make the decision, but I'm pleased with this convo we just had. I feel good about it. And yeah, let me know how your series reading went this year. Let me know if you've read any of the things I talked about, or if you have any recommendations. Those are dangerous for me, but any recommendations of things that are similar to the stuff I talked about. And yeah, end of the year lists continue, end of the year content continues here. So keep your eyes open for that. And yeah, just take care of yourself. I hope you're enjoying your end of the year, and we will just talk again soon.